Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna So there we are, new camera. Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram And you see Mahaprabhu Kripa Prabhu on Facebook. There's more or less identical computer. I mean camera.
Yes, I saw the bullets. It's actually exciting.
It's much better. Although there's no difference in the quality of camera, but Zoom just, you can't adjust it. Anyway, such is life. We'll keep looking into how to improve Zoom. Okay, ecstase. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Pralajaya. Ecstase. Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Now we're going to try a trick. Oops. You see on there, this camera, there is if you go around to that side, on the lens, there's a thing on the lens You know what the lens is?
This, yeah.
No, not on the front of it, on the side. It says A and it says M on the side of the lens. Side,
You
not
mean
front.
that?
You see it says A and M? Does it?
No.
God. I'm going to have to come out and have a look, because, it should be, maybe it's on the other side, I don't know. Wait. Look,
Oh, yeah.
A-M. So I'm going to sit here, and then when I tell you, switch it to M.
Okay.
A means automatic, so when I move, it sort of spaces out of it. So let's see. And I switch it to M now. Okay. So now it should be stable. All right, all righty. Where is it? Okay, we must begin. All right, devotees, Hare Krishna. Welcome to the 19th session of Nectar of Devotion. So, we are halfway through the whole program. Would you believe it? We are halfway through. Anyway, let us begin as usual by chanting our dedication to the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Nana Shastra Vicharanai Kanipano Saddharma Samstapako Lokanam hitakarino tribhuvane manyo sharanya karo Radha Krishna padaravinda bhajana nandena mata liko Vande rupa sanatana raghuyago Sri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Sri Jiva Gopalako. Yes, so now let us read the translation. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis, namely Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the 3 worlds, and they're worth taking shelter of because they're absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presta Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyachade Shatarane Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki. Okay, devotees, so we left off last night right towards the end of the 8th chapter of Nectar of Devotion, which is discussing offenses. And we came to that point. We just reached the point where we're just coming now to the Nam Aparads. And we made the point last night that there are, in this chapter, or in general even, there are 2 types of offenses. Seva aparads, which are more like sort of general offenses, although the great majority are connected with deities and the worship of deities, directly or indirectly. Some, of course, are just different. They're not really connected with deity worship. They're just general rules. And the first one, I wonder, can any of you sitting there in Zoom land or in Facebook land, can any of you remember what was the very first Seva Aparad, the very first offense which we read from the list, number 1, last night? Anyone remember? Without looking at your Nectar of Devotion. Okay, Ram Vijay Prabhu remembers. Entering the temple, well, particularly for us, in shoes. Or, the rule says, in a car, sure, or in a palanquin. Yes, so then there are all these different offenses. We read through them. There's like 60 or so. Yes, and a very important point there was that normally one doesn't really have to make some special effort to overcome the effects of these Seva Aparads. But just as you carry on in your Krishna consciousness, you carry on practicing, you carry on chanting like that, then they become cleansed away. Of course, if you make the excuse that I don't need to stop doing one of those offenses, if perhaps it becomes a bit of a habit or something, if you think, oh, I don't need to worry because it'll be cleansed away by my ongoing Krishna consciousness, and so you don't make any effort to give it up, that particular Seva Aparad. Then it was Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur made the point that then your Seva Aparad becomes Nam Aparad number 7. Committing sinful activity on the strength of chanting or just of practicing Krishna consciousness. Because one point that Prabhupada makes is that we use this term Nam Aparad, but these really are just serious offenses in Krishna consciousness in a general sense. It's not that they're only offenses against the chanting of the holy names and they're sort of limited to their relationship with the chanting of the holy names. But these are offenses which apply throughout our involvement, our lives in Krishna consciousness. And therefore the first of the Nam Aparads is to blaspheme the devotees. The thing is, the chanting of the holy names is the main part of the process, particularly in Kali Yuga, and therefore this term nama parad is used. But actually the extent of the 10 offenses, it goes beyond simply the names and can like sort of infiltrate our whole involvement in Krishna consciousness. So that's what we're going to discuss now, and various considerations in that regard. So first of all, I'll just read the list of the 10 offenses, and I imagine that perhaps all of you are very much aware what are these 10 offenses, because you know, in many of our temples, like here in Durban, every morning we recite them. And I know in many temples they're recited, and it's emphasized so much, because when you're practicing Krishna consciousness, the only thing that really can hold you back, generally, certainly the main thing, but practically the only thing, is if you commit offenses, and particularly these 10 offenses. Other than that, you're on your way back to Godhead, basically. Yeah, so they're extremely well known. So here we go. I'm going to read the list, and then we will discuss different considerations in regard to these 10 offenses. So first offense, to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord and propagating everything to do with Krishna consciousness. 2, to consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna. 3, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4, well, let me just mention a point in regard to that third offense. Here's an interesting point for you. Srila Prabhupada, I was just reading actually, yesterday, I was just reading, Srila Prabhupada was saying that this third offense we just read now, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master, it can be considered to just be, so to speak, just be a part of the first offense, because the spiritual master is one of the devotees who generally has dedicated his life to propagating the holy name of the Lord. So you can say that, and it is not wrong, it's accurate. But because the spiritual master is most prominent, and even we could just say is so prominent amongst the devotees in general, therefore the offense in that regard, the offense in relation to the spiritual master has been separated out and given a special place of emphasis. So number 4, to blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version. 5, to consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6, to give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord. 7, to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name of the Lord. 8, to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna, one of the auspicious ritualistic activities offered in the Vedas as fruit of activities, karma kandya. 9, to instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. And 10, to not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. Plus, it is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. That's not actually mentioned here. Interesting, isn't it? Anyway, we all know that's part of the picture. It's in Padma Purana. This all comes from Padma Purana. All right, so there you go. We are not now going to discuss each one individually. We have actually a seminar on the 10 offenses, which is quite a major seminar. It takes, I forget, 4 days or something like that, like 6 hours maybe. So we don't have time to just give a detailed explanation of each. I mean, in many ways they're self-evident. I mean, the details are self-evident. Plus, generally, whenever there's an initiation ceremony, we do get some explanation of each of these 10 offenses. But I wanted to discuss some other considerations, important considerations, in perhaps you could say in a little broader sense, in regard to the chanting or these offenses in the chanting of the holy names. First of all, we have a special question here. This is for you devotees doing Bhakti Shastri. Here's a special question. This is from, I'm going to read a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's actually quoted. Oh, look at this. Is it? No. Oh, no, it's not. So anyway, it's Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Leela 3:181. If you're doing Bhakti Shastri, I suggest you write that down, because you are going to be asked a question about this verse. Antya Leela 3:181. As the rising sun immediately dissipates all the world's darkness, which is deep like an ocean, so the holy name of the Lord, if chanted once without offenses, dissipates all the reactions of a living being's sinful life. All glories to that holy name of the Lord, which is auspicious for the entire world. So you should note that, devotees, believe me. What does this verse say? What happens when the holy name of the Lord is chanted without offenses? Aha. All right. So let's read a couple of things from, first of all, from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. All right. He says, the word Nam in the phrase Namaparad refers not only to the holy name, but to all the angas of bhakti, of which the name is the primary representative. Even according to Dharma Shastras, scriptures dealing with the codes of fruit of activity, if one willfully commits sin on the strength of prayaschita, the remedial measures for commission of sin, then the effect of the sin will not be destroyed, but rather increased. Oh, how's that? That's the seventh offense, isn't it? Willfully committing sin on the strength of, not even of the chanting of the holy names, but just of some sort of ritualistic activity you do to balance out your bad activities with some good activities. So the effects of the sin are not destroyed, but rather they're increased. If the nam aparads, whether long-standing or recent, have been committed unconsciously, but their presence is indicated by the result, which means a lack of advancement, the only recourse is to chant the name constantly. By that, steadiness in bhakti will be attained, and offenses will be neutralized. Okay, so now here's some further points. And these actually, further points, let's just have a look here. Oops. Yeah, here's some further points. Some of them are from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Madhuri Kadamini. So he says, listen to this, one should not say, I have committed no offenses. One should not say that. One can infer the existence of either recent or long-standing offenses by their effect. Infer basically means, in simple language, understand. The effect of offense is that a person will not manifest any symptoms of prema by performance of nam kirtan. Yes. So any of you devotees here sitting in the temple, or any of you in Facebook land or Zoom land, if you're not manifesting any symptoms of prema in your chanting, when you're chanting, then know, please, and accept, and don't argue against this, that this is because you have committed offenses. And they're hanging around you. They haven't gone away. So he quotes Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.24. 2.3.24. A very important verse. I'll just read the translation. One's heart is as hard as stone if, on chanting the holy name, there is no change in the heart. Tears coming from the eyes, or the standing of hairs on the body. These are the symptoms of prema. So you have a steel-framed heart if, when you chant the holy names, these very wonderful symptoms, even emotional symptoms, do not manifest. Yes. And so Prabhupada's translation is, your heart is steel framed. And the framing is the offenses. Yeah. So let us read this. This is now Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur saying some pretty dramatic things about the effects of offenses. And I suggest you fasten your seatbelts, because it's a bit like that. So he says, what are these offenses against the name of the Lord, which, if they're committed, prevent any results from repeatedly hearing and chanting the Lord's name, his qualities, which should give prema, from serving the sacred tirthas, holy places, which bestow perfection, from tasting repeatedly the prasadam, which destroys all desires for sense enjoyment. So what are these offenses from which all these spiritually powerful activities become apparently material, or at least drastically reduced? So he continues, this is the serious effect of nam aparad. If this is so, one may then argue that if these offenses are so serious, then a person who commits nam aparad simply loses the grace of the Lord, and thus cannot even take shelter of guru or perform devotional activities. So he said, if this is so, if they're that serious, then the person will lose all these things. And he says, this is true. Just as during a serious fever, a person loses all taste for food, and it becomes impossible to eat. A person who commits a serious offense loses taste for hearing, chanting, and performing devotional activities. There is no doubt about this. However, here comes the good news. However, if the fever lessens with time, some taste for food develops. Even then, nourishing foods like milk and rice cannot give their full power of nourishment to the person suffering from chronic fever. They bestow some benefit, but cannot relieve him of his wasted condition. An invalid's diet and medicine can, however, with time, restore him to his previous healthy condition. At that time, the full potency of normal food can be utilized by the body. In the same way, after a long period of suffering the effects of aparad, the intensity reduces somewhat, and the devotee develops a little taste. Again, the devotee becomes qualified for bhakti. Repeated doses of hearing and chanting the Lord's name and the performance of other devotional processes gradually with time reveals everything to the devotee. So there you go. Here are some considerations in regard to, they're really in regard to the first offense. In regard to the first offense, some considerations. Whether or not you'll be asked about them in the exams, I don't know exactly. But I think just for your own benefit, it's a good idea to write these things down. So first offense, to blaspheme the devotees, criticize the devotees who have dedicated themselves to propagating, to preaching the glories of the holy name, and just to being devotees. So, here's a question. If you have heard blasphemy in the past, what do you do to become free of the offenses? Aha. Yeah. So here's a suggestion. You can go back to the person who was doing the blasphemy, the blasphemer, and tell the person, I don't agree, and explain why you don't agree. That will help purify you from the effects of that blasphemy which you heard and which went in, but you didn't do anything to oppose it. So you can say, I was thinking about our discussion about so-and-so, and I think that so-and-so, that devotee, actually is a sincere devotee. He or she might have some fault or made some mistake, but is actually sincere. In other words, you could say, stand up for the devotee who was being criticized and deny to the blasphemer what they've said. It will at least help, because blasphemy, well, let's just say, do I have? No, I don't, but I must have somewhere. There's a verse which where is it? It disappeared. I'm going to try and find it. Well, no, I know the verse, so I'll just tell you as time goes on. So, okay. So blasphemy. In our seminar on the demons in Krishna's Vrindavan, Leela, and the anathas they represent, one of the demons is Kaliya, who represents poisoning the hearts of the devotees with blasphemous talk or poisonous talk. And we give a specific example, practical type of example, that some devotee may come to you and say, such and such a devotee. Oftentimes it's the temple president. Sometimes it's the GBC. But it's often, it could be, it's sometimes anyone. But sometimes it's these, you could say, a little more prominent devotees, if you want to put it like that, and say, such and such, he's a nice devotee, and your heart opens a bit. Oh, he's a nice devotee, that's nice. But, and then comes the poison. Your heart is opened a little because you heard something nice to start off with. It's not always like that, but it happens like that also sometimes. So your heart opened up a bit, and now in comes the poison into the open heart, the open receptacle of the heart. And sure, it has its effect. And you can know if your heart has been poisoned. There are different ways of knowing, but one way is, if you then, let's just say for argument's sake, it's just a particular devotee. So if your heart's become poisoned, when? The next time you see that devotee who was criticized, who was blasphemed, your heart's poisoned. If the next time you see that devotee, the thought just comes into your mind, oh, there's that bad devotee. Oh, look look at that. Oh, some negative thoughts about that devotee. That means your heart is poisoned. And you got to watch out, because you are in a bad condition. Who knows what may happen? Right. So, and we mentioned that, did we mention? I think we mentioned. Maybe we didn't, but I'll mention. Raghunath Das Goswami in Manashiksha, he says that some devotees may possibly sit around and discuss the faults of another devotee. And if you hear them and if you tell them, listen, please talk positively, don't criticize, they may then say to you that we are talking about a devotee. We're analyzing the character of a devotee. This is very Krishna conscious. And they may think that this is purifying, like taking a nice bath is purifying for the physical body. So we are talking about a devotee, and therefore our hearts are becoming bathed, purified in the sort of, the waters or whatever you'd say, of the subject matter, of the nature of that devotee. So yeah, he says, Raghunath Das Goswami says, so the devotees may think we're becoming purified, like taking a bath physically. And he says, yes, it is like taking a bath. It is like taking a bath. But it's like taking a bath in donkey urine. And what more does one need to say? Donkey urine. Any urine other than cow urine, but otherwise any urine is just totally rejectable. But donkey urine, it sounds like the worst, practically. All right. So let's carry on. These are all important points. So either dwelling on our own faults or someone else's faults without any positive attempt to improve in devotional service is Maya. Either dwelling on your own faults or someone else's without any attempt to improve and get free from those faults is Maya. But if the ability to see the faults and to analyze the faults and pursue the faults to the deepest levels is used to uncover our anathas, and uproot them, then it can be beneficial, but it's sensitive. We don't want to just be in self-consciousness. I'm like this, I'm like that, I'm like so many things. I'm a living disaster, and I, me, and mine. We don't want to get absorbed like that. But if, because we need to analyze our faults from time to time, just check, how am I doing? Yeah, am I moving forward, or what's going on in my Krishna consciousness? So a little bit of analysis is definitely needed from time to time. And if we see faults in ourselves, or we know of other faults, then we can look at ourselves and try and see, do I have these faults? And then try to uproot them, take action. Here's another one. What if we've lost track of all the devotees we've offended over the years? How can we go back and rectify? So one devotee asked Prabhupada that throughout the day we commit so many offenses to so many devotees. And if we have to go back every time to every devotee and offer obeisances, we'll be spending most of the day offering obeisances. So then Prabhupada told him that what you do is, early in the morning, offer the prayer, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Paritanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. That's how the practice started. And we do it here in our temple here in Chatsworth, Durban. Every morning we do that. And part of it is to relieve us from unknown offenses. Unknown offenses, or even offenses which you committed when you didn't even know what an offense is. You know, before you started becoming a little trained up in Krishna consciousness, then you don't know what's an offense. What are the 10 offenses? So all these offenses will be cleansed like this. So for ordinary offenses that we commit throughout the day, we can offer obeisances to the devotees at one time, but we should do it with feeling, not just saying the words and thinking something else. But with feeling, we should offer obeisances to the devotees and pray to them to forgive us. I don't know if you've heard me mention, but when I first joined the temple in London, there was it was possibly plus or minus 50 men, young men, living in the temple in very restricted conditions. And there was one bathroom with two showers, but generally only one was operational. So we would all gather in the bathroom. We'd all gather 4 o'clock thereabouts. And there was a program offering obeisances to everyone. Bang, 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 bang. Not just all at one time, but going to the individual devotees, offering obeisances, like 20 or 30 times or more. And that was nice. It was tiring, but it was really nice. It's something we can consider doing here. So, now over the years, here's another little consideration. I mean, it's related. We've committed so many offenses to so many devotees, and we might have lost track. We probably have. If in general, we glorify the devotees and serve the devotees, that will counter the effects of Vaishnav aparad. So all the devotees in ISKCON are attached to ISKCON. So if we serve ISKCON and make ISKCON strong, then that will give benefit to all the devotees. All the devotees in ISKCON are attached to Prabhupada. So if we can help them in their relationship with Prabhupada and their service to Prabhupada, then that is service to them. So these are all some very nice ideas to help us in our relationships with the devotees, and including to help us overcome unknown offenses, forgotten or whatever offenses. And And this will help us progress. It'll really help us progress in Krishna consciousness. So there we go, devotees. Those are some thoughts. Oh, I was going to mention about blasphemy. In the fourth canto, let me just see if by asking my almost omniscient computer, let me see if I can find the actual verse that I'm looking for. Look at this. Look at this. When you've got someone omniscient around, it really helps if you know the right question. So this is fourth canto, chapter 4, verse 17. 4:17. And it is Sati, the daughter of Daksha and the wife of Lord Shiva, chastising her father, Daksha, for blaspheming Lord Shiva. So she's referring to that, how you blasphemed, such the most elevated devotee. But the idea can be applied more broadly, not only to Lord Shiva or blasphemy of Lord Shiva, but blasphemy on a wider basis. So Sati continued, if one hears an irresponsible person blaspheme the master and controller of religion, one should block his ears and go away if unable to punish him. But, Haribol, but if one is able to kill, then one should by force cut out the blasphemer's tongue and kill the offender. And after that, one should give up his own life. Hare Krishna. Of course, we must remember, this is a very extreme situation. Sure, it's really extreme. Lord Shiva, he's on such an elevated level. And the blasphemy of Daksha was just so yucky. And Sati is the wife of Lord Shiva. So her feelings are just, well, I think you're all aware, she's just about to commit suicide because of this, actually. So she is really very deeply affected. And so she's expressing herself extremely strongly. But otherwise, the basic idea for us is, if we hear an irresponsible person blaspheme a devotee, then at the least we should block our ears and go away. And then maybe do something like what we said. Go back to the blasphemer at some point and say, what you said was wrong. And then glorify the devotee who was blasphemed. Or alternatively, or go to the devotee who was blasphemed, and you don't need to say, listen, I heard you were blasphemed. They said this and this and that, but actually I think you're nice. Don't refer to that, but just express appreciation. Express appreciation for the devotee. These types of things eliminate the effects of hearing blasphemy. Yeah. Like that. Okay. So, right. Now we have reached the end of chapter 8, and we do still have a few minutes left. Let's just make a little start to chapter 9, which is just going on with the list of all the 64 activities. And devotees, would you believe that the very next one in the list is one should not tolerate blasphemy. Maybe someone's trying to tell us something. Yeah, okay. So let's just have a look at this then. Blasphemy. So what does Srila Prabhupada say? What's there in Nectar of Devotion about blasphemy? Chapter 9, well, it's further considerations of devotional principles. These chapter names were just, to my knowledge, invented by the devotees. Anyway, it's okay. So, all right. So Prabhupada says, one should not tolerate blasphemy of the Lord or his devotees. In this connection, in the 10th canto, 74th chapter, verse 40 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadev Goswami tells Parikshit Maharaj, "My dear king, if a person, after hearing blasphemous propaganda against the Lord and his devotees, or his devotees, so if a person, after hearing that, does not go away from that place, he becomes bereft of the effect of all pious activities." Yeah, in other words, it is, you could say, ruinous. It is ruinous to hear blasphemy and to do nothing about it. It can be severely damaging even if you do something about it, actually. But if you don't do something about it, it is ruinous. Means you will or can or will become ruined in your Krishna consciousness. And then even if you try to go outside Krishna consciousness into material life, you will not do well. I mean, nobody can do that well in material life, but you will really not do well. So now in the second paragraph, let's have a look at the second paragraph. Well, let's read it. In one of Lord Chaitanya's Shikshastika verses, it is stated, "The devotee should be more tolerant than a tree and more submissive than the grass. He should offer all honor to others, but may not accept any honor for himself." We all know that verse. It's the third verse. Trinadapi, Shunichena, etc. So, Prabhupada continues, in spite of Lord Chaitanya's being so humble and meek as a devotee, when he was informed about injuries inflicted on the body of Sri Nityananda, he immediately ran to the spot and wanted to kill the offenders, Jagai and Madai. This behavior of Lord Chaitanya's is very significant. It shows that a Vaishnav may be very tolerant and meek, forgoing everything for his personal honor. But when it is a question of the honor of Krishna or his devotee, he will not tolerate any insult. There are 3 ways of dealing with such insults. If someone is heard blaspheming by words, one should be so expert that he can defeat the opposing party by argument. If he is unable to defeat the opposing party, then the next step is that he should not just stand there meekly, but should give up his life. The 3rd process is followed if he's unable to execute these above-mentioned 2 processes, and this is that one must leave the place and go away. If a devotee does not follow any of the above-mentioned 3 processes, he falls down from his position of devotion. Hare Krishna. Yes. So the point is, and we've given a lot of emphasis to it this evening, the point is that blasphemy is very, very serious. And if nothing, particularly if nothing is done, if you just listen to it and carry on with your life, its effects will manifest. Just like that verse we read a little earlier about chanting. You know, your heart is steel framed if when you chant, tears don't come from your eyes and so on, like that. So that means you've committed offenses. And that's like the result. That even though you're chanting, and you may be chanting and chanting and chanting, but no like really solid progress is being made, you're kind of just more or less in the same position as before. So that means you're committing offenses. That's the result of you having committed offenses. In regard to blasphemy, of course it's one of the offenses, or say one of the offenses. But the effect is so serious that if you don't take some action, then your Krishna consciousness will become undermined quite seriously, and you will feel it. You'll feel it, and you'll know something is wrong here. But because you didn't do anything, or at least so far you haven't done anything, then it'll be very difficult to overcome whatever that effect is. Only really when you do something like we mentioned, to offset the effect, then things will pick up again if you do it very sincerely. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.